Welcome back to Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek and I am here with John. And we are here to discuss the Yankees. And the Yankees, since the last time we discussed them, have gone on a pretty decent run, even being a little bit banged up. They're starting to get healthy, and they're getting more and more healthier. But as you look at this Yankees roster, maybe there's still some flaws, maybe there's not. We're going to discuss that right here. And we're going to discuss this Yankees team. What would be the one thing that would be holding them back from success this year? It is a very tough division that they are in. And feels like at this point you lose 2 games and you're in last place. So it's very tough, but we're going to discuss this Yankees team and their roster. We're going to break it down right here on Bleacher Balls. My name is, like I said, my name is Derek. I'm here with John. And let's dive straight into it. So I'll hand it over to John first because this is actually his idea to come with the video idea. So just I want to give your overall thoughts on the Yankees, at least just quick overall thoughts on their last couple weeks and their roster as a whole, especially now that they're getting healthy.
So I'm really happy. I'm finally feeling confident in the Yankees. It was a rough stretch there early in the season. Then Aaron Judge goes down, and you get really worried. And the Yankees responded. They responded really well. Boone's had his managing gaffes this season. We all know that. But somehow he kept this team fighting when everyone kind of was already giving up on him. So I got to give him credit there. Right now, I'm just happy. I think this team is really clicking. They're on a good run. These things don't last forever. So I think they're like 8-2 over their last 10 or something like that. So they've really been on a good run. You're not going to play 800 ball all season, but make the most of it now and just keep winning the games you need to win. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago where we said the Yankees had to go 6-0 against Oakland and Cincinnati, and then they did. They had to split a series against Tampa, and they did. So, you have to be really happy with what they've done the past few weeks.
Yeah, and I think most Yankees fans are, right? I mean, I would be shocked if they weren't. I mean, Yankees are now up into third place, and this is a division where I think we've talked about it so much. I feel like here in Bleacher Walls, but it might be the most unfair division in baseball. Your last place team is still 5 games over 500. It's stupid, but it just what it is at this point, and you have to deal with it. But let's look at some internal things. I know the scope of this video is what is the biggest obstacle for the Yankees, but I kind of want to look internal too, and not just look at the external obstacles the Yankees have. Yes, tough division, only so many playoff spots. I mean, that's kind of the problem for literally every AL East team at this point. But if you're looking at the Yankees, what is their biggest obstacle down, when you get towards the middle of the season and down the stretch this season later on? What is their biggest internal obstacle that they have?
Well, Derek, I would say the Yankees' biggest obstacle, there's a couple, so we could actually probably touch on a couple of these points, but I'm going to start with the biggest obstacle for the Yankees is themselves. Brian Cashman is his own worst enemy, and I am very concerned about how he's going to try to prove that he's the smartest person in the room, how the Yankees are going to try to prove that they're the smartest person in the room, and do something stupid in the process. Over the past couple of years, we've seen the Yankees in that 2020, I know it's 2020, some people consider it a fake season, but the Yankees win Game 1 of the ALDS against Tampa, and they have momentum. In the second game, they, for whatever reason, used Davey Garcia as an opener and then go to J-Happ. Everybody knew what they were doing. Nobody was fooled. And they killed any momentum they had. They lost the series. It was a stupid move because they were trying to prove that they were smarter than everybody else. It didn't work. In 2021, they went out and got Joey Gallo. Now, I didn't know this at the time because I don't know Joey Gallo. But a lot of people inside baseball, I believe I've heard it from Buster Olney, was saying that when the Yankees made that Joey Gallo trade, they're like, what are the Yankees doing? This is not a New York guy. Like, this is going to be a terrible trade. But they had to go out and prove, like, oh, this is our strikeout, walk, home run guy. Like, we have to prove that we're the smartest. And whatever they did last year, they do dumb stuff all the time. And that's my concern with this Yankees team, that they're going to do something, they're going to be rolling, and then they're just going to do something stupid to prove that they're smart. And So there's a lot of concern with me as this roster shapes out going into the trade deadline. To me that's number one for me. I have others if we want to talk about it. I'd love to hear what your biggest obstacle is. But for me, number one, it's them doing something stupid and shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, that can definitely be an obstacle. And the Yankees recently haven't. I know you bring up trade deadline. The Yankees have not had the greatest success at the trade deadline recently.
Frankie Montas, there you go.
Well, even you look at some of the prospects they gave away, and look how some of them are performing now, and it's like, and even 2020 it looks a little bit rough, especially considering the returns, Joey Gallo, Frankie Montas, etc., etc. Not looking the greatest, right? Now that doesn't mean that Brian Cashman just can't make a good trade. Like he can at some, he can. It's just, when is it going to happen at the deadline? It feels like, who knows? Maybe this year will be the year and he gets it right. I mean, you would think eventually it's going to happen, but at the same time, some things just don't happen. So who knows? I think their biggest internal obstacle, I think, is going to be depth. In depth in terms of the back end of their roster, their back end of the 26, back end of the 40-man. Who are the guys that, when Aaron Judge is struggling, or Garrett Cole is struggling, or whoever it is, or just you have Anthony Rizzo's having a rough week or so, who are the guys that are going to step up and make the plays that are needed and step up to help you win games? Because it's a thing for every good... No, Aaron Judge isn't going to hit 62 home runs this year. Like, yeah, he might hit 50, it feels like, but still. Which is still really, really good, even though, including the fact he was injured. But Aaron Judge, you cannot rely on Aaron Judge to carry your team on his back every single day, every single game of the season. Look what happened last year in the postseason. You can't rely on it. Eventually, it's gonna be too much, right? You can't carry the offense all the time. You need other guys to step up. Guys further down in the lineup. It doesn't even have to be anyone crazy. What about your Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, for example? No one, he's not going to be a star player, but he's a role player. Get Kyle Higashioka, backup catcher. Okay, let's see what you can do. You play maybe once or twice a week. What can you do in those 1 or 2 games a week? Right? It's just guys like that, bullpen guys like a guy like Ian Hamilton who stepped up before he got injured. How many guys are expecting that, right? Those are the guys that, when they step up, the Yankees are going to need those guys to step up. Those guys in the back end of the roster, back end of the 40-man roster who maybe replace an injured guy. Those guys can step up for the Yankees. That's big. However, if they don't step up, the Yankees could be in big trouble. And I think we've seen Yankees teams in the past that have been a little bit top-heavy. Where last year, like I said, it was very reliant on Aaron Judge offensively. And the rotation, very reliant on Garrett Cole. Although the Yankees did have a good rotation last year, there was a clear Garrett Cole and then everyone else in that rotation, even with how good the rotation was last year. And you've seen it at times this year too. Garrett Cole and everyone else. So I think having the depth step up is going to be big for the Yankees. And if the depth steps up, they'll be successful. If not, they could struggle, and because eventually, you can only put so much weight on the camel's back. Eventually, it's not going to hold. And how much can it hold? We don't know. But you'd rather not find out the answer to that and get some weight off of it and hand it off to someone else.
Definitely, and I fully agree, because that's another one of my obstacles that I had was the Yankees' depth. Because like you said, you used the term top-heavy, and I think that's the perfect way to describe the Yankees, because they are a very top-heavy team. You get your contributions from the first couple guys in the lineup. And the depth is a question, because they've kind of had a black hole in left field. Anthony Volpe is a young kid, but you're not really expecting, or I should say he's looking like he's going to be a decent player, but you can't expect him to be carrying the team. So that's another kind of, I don't want to say black hole in the lineup, but it's not a spot where you're really expecting much. Trevino is not going to be breaking any batting records as a catcher. He's a really good defensive catcher, which I think is much more important than a hitting catcher. So there's the bottom of your lineup, and then whoever you're filling in. Cabrera's had a couple good games, but he struggled. The Yankees have really gone into guys like Willie Calhoun and Jake Bowers and guys you didn't really think you were going to be seeing on the Yankees this season. So that depth is a question, and it all depends on whether or not those guys are really going to, when they get the chance, if they're going to take it and run with the ball. Even though we're playing baseball and I'm making a football analogy. And then the last obstacle I see for the Yankees is just once again going to be contact hitting, which I think they've done okay with this year so far. Anthony Rizzo's batting average is a lot higher than it had been in the past couple of years. Everyone thought he was going to benefit from the shift, and that's from the shift being banned, and that certainly has happened. He has benefited, but outside of that, it's still they hit a lot of home runs, they draw a lot of walks, they strike out a lot. Fundamentally, this team hasn't changed, and as the season progresses, what gets you through those what snaps the cold stretches quicker is going to be contact hitting and generating runs. Home runs are going to go. The walk home run thing is going to go silent for longer than contact hitting will, and then you get to the playoffs, and it's always the same old story. So fundamentally, this team hasn't really changed, and I still see that as an obstacle.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's fair, and I think like you said, that contact hitting thing can be a question. And I don't think it's just contact hitting. I think it's just ability to get on base. I think the Yankees don't really have a true leadoff hitter, and I understand DJ LeMahieu, when healthy, can be a leadoff hitter, but at least to me, I'm looking at LeMahieu and go, he can hit leadoff. Is he my ideal leadoff hitter? No, he's probably, in a perfect world, LeMahieu's your number 2 hitter, and you have Judge behind him. I think that's your perfect world, but the Yankees don't have a pure, they don't have that, that leadoff hitter that can really go in that leadoff spot. They just don't have it. So, it's interesting. And on base, too, I'm going to bring this up. I know Yankees fans hate Carlos Correa, and that's totally fine, but last postseason, he was doing some TV coverage, and he essentially had this thing about advanced metrics and whatever, but he essentially said, it's better to go 0 for 15 with 7 walks than to go 0 for 15 with no walks. And that's such a true statement, right? Regardless of how much you like the guy or hate the guy, it's true. Regardless of who said it, it's true, right? And for this Yankees team, sometimes it feels like they get in ruts, and it's not 0 for 15 with 7 walks. It's 0 for 15 with maybe 1 walk at best. And
14 strikeouts.
Yeah, and that just doesn't work. And especially when you get into the postseason, you're facing elite pitching most often. I mean, look who the Yankees played last year. Cleveland and Houston, 2 teams with elite pitching, especially in the rotation. You have to get on base against those guys. A guy like a Framber Valdez, you got to get on base against him. You have to. You can't just dilly-dally around, strike out, and rely on a home run ball, because he doesn't give up many home runs. He doesn't give up many fly balls. Against a guy like a Shane Bieber or any other elite pitcher in the American League, you can't rely on out-homering other teams when they're putting Cy Young caliber pitchers, or at least all-star caliber pitchers at the very least, on the mound. You're not going to be able to rely on it. So I think just the ability to get on base and contact hitting, like you said, I think that's a big thing too. Is there any other thing that you have a big concern for the Yankees besides contact hitting? I could bring up pitching side in terms of a little similar depth. The Domingo Germán, besides the whole suspension, he's been a lot better as of late on his last couple starts. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole suspension talk because that's a totally different time and topic. But is there anything on the pitching side maybe that worries you, or anything like that?
Pitching is always going to worry me. Pitching is always going to worry me. You can never have enough pitching depth. You can never have enough starting pitching. You can never have enough bullpen depth. The Rodon saga continues. What's more to say? Until you see him on the field, it is what it is. And, Domingo Germán, you guys could, we don't have to get into it here. You guys could listen to our rivalry podcast that came out on Monday. May 21st, we addressed Domingo Herman and how how I think he got railroaded with just a bunch of umpires trying to save face and just make an example of him. So, but there's more about that on our rivalry episode. But for today, like, that's it. I think we touched on really some of the biggest obstacles that I'm concerned with, specifically the Yankees doing something really stupid, trying to prove that they're smart.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up, though. That Rival Podcast is Monday, 5/22, May 22nd, actually, not 21st. It's all right. But yeah, I think it's I think it is good to have these discussions about what could be potential, downsides to teams, what could be upsides. I think it's a good discussion to have, right? Because, every team, you have to identify, each team has to identify their problems, because when you get to the trade deadline, well, you got to trade for guys that are going to fix your problems, right? If the Yankees can identify their problems and fix them, that would be great for them. If they can't do that, then they could be in trouble. But let us know your thoughts in the comments, Yankees fans. What do you think are their biggest obstacles as of now? We try to keep it more internal, but if you want to talk external problems too, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we post. Make sure to check out all our Bleacher Brawls links in the comments of Bleacher Brawls website, Instagram, podcast, and Twitter. For John, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.